Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Good Friday to you. You know it's Friday when you turn on and you see that guy, the great Matt Hladek from Men's Journal. Matt, got a couple of emails I want to ask you about because they were directly related to you.
So,
Okay. This one comes to us, the first one comes to us from Kurt S. Kurt S says, Hondo, I've loved Matt on the show. I used to love you and him talking Big Ten football. I'm an Ohio State fan and I'm a Raider fan. So when you switched to covering the NFL, I was pleased and I was thrilled you brought Matt with you. Here's my question. I love his sports articles at Men's Journal. Has he thought about traveling and doing some reviews of some good guy restaurants? None of this fine dining white table stuff, but as he travels around the country in his job, I think like some brew houses, some steak places, some hamburger places. I'd love to read what Matt and even you, as much as you travel, say about places where to go. What do you think of that?
that would be a lot of fun. I'll be honest, with my job at Men's Journal, with handling the breaking news, trending news team stuff, they don't want us, since we're not like premium content, to go out to different places or travel to different places to review things. But in the future, if that changes, I would love to do that. That would sound like a lot of fun. And as somebody who enjoys, good food, it would be right up my alley.
All right, we're going to talk a lot of Raiders tonight and a lot of other NFL, but I got this next one that I thought was really good. Hondo, I've enjoyed Matt ever since you started covering the NFL. I also like the fact that he's based in Gotham, as you call it, New York City, the Big Apple, where I'm from. I would like to get his opinion. I grew up in California. My dad was a naval officer, and I became a Raider fan as a child, and I've never lost it. My dad is a Jets fan, no longer with us, but because I spent so much of my childhood in California, I'm a Raider guy. What is his thoughts on Chip Kelly? Should we fire him? Should we get more time? What's he think? I know what you think. And that comes from a a, a Paso, APASOW, and he lives in New York City.
I think with Chip Kelly, I think when you make that kind of investment in a guy, and you're talking about Pete Carroll who wants to, build something sustainable there in Vegas, I don't think you get rid of him, so quickly. I think you got to give him some time to figure things out. I think at least through the season, especially considering this isn't going to be a playoff season, I think you got to at least see how that's going. Um, with how he does, as things progress. Because to me, I think that, you said $6 million a year for the coordinator position. I'm still getting to know new personnel. I'm still getting to know his team. I think that you got to give him a little bit of time before you pack it in. I understand the frustration. He's got to be better, if without question, coming out of this bye. But I wouldn't be pulling the plug just yet.
Okay, the last one, I told you I got 3 emails about you this week. The last one I thought was pretty funny. Comes to us from Jeff S. Jeff S. lives in Sisseton, South Dakota. Hondo, I love Matt being on the show. Truthfully, I've never read Med's Journal till he started over there, and I love it. I don't even read the Spun anymore. It's terrible without him, but I love Men's Journal and I read it every single day. I wanted the Raiders to pick Jackson Dart. I'm beyond angry we didn't. Ask him what was it like to break Raiders' hearts by picking Jackson Dart, and what's he think?
I mean, I was happy to see him get a shot. I didn't want any quarterback at number three for the Giants. I thought that Abdul Carter was too good to pass up there, so I was glad they went there. And I was kind of trusting the process with whoever they took later in the draft. So Jackson Dart, he intrigued me right away from, the offseason, some of the things I'd heard about and read about the way he performed, and then when you saw him in preseason. But he's been, through 5 games, way exceeded expectations. I know 5 games does not make a player good or bad. Um, but I think the thing that's encouraged me the most is listening to some of the reviews he's gotten from opposing players and coaches. Because listen, no one's gonna really, if a guy's not playing well or they don't think he's very good, they're not going to disparage him. But they might, kind of give him like just the basic platitudes, like, oh, he's working hard, he's a young QB looking at blah blah blah, whatever. And they're going beyond that with Jackson Dart. He has impressed, whether it's Vic Fangio with the Eagles last week, who's one of the top defensive coordinators of this era, Robert Saleh of the Niners coming up this weekend, another guy who's one of the better defensive coordinators we've seen in the league recently. Um, Nick Benito, the defensive lineman from the Broncos, after you played against him, I think I've really enjoyed seeing what other teams and coaches have had to say about him. So, listen, I wish I could say that I knew he was going to look like this through 5 games. I didn't, but I'm definitely excited about that part of the Giants' future.
All right, let's turn now to the Raiders. Here's the whole deal with me. I didn't think they were a playoff team to start the year. I do think they're going to win Sunday. They're finally healthy. First time they've been since the Patriots game, and we know Jacksonville is not. They could lose the game. It would not surprise me. Would shock me, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. It would surprise me. And then they have boom. They turn around 5 days later and play the Broncos, which are a good football team. I don't think they're a juggernaut at all. I don't think they're a juggernaut at all. I think Sean Payton's a great coach. And I think he does a great job of coaching the talent he has. But here's the point. If the Raiders lose Sunday, I don't think there's any chance they lose in Denver. Period. I just don't see it. But if they win Sunday, they get a little bit of help. But Raider Nation they can't walk away from a game and saying my coaches gave us no chance. Chip Kelly, 6 mil a year, highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. You can't walk away from a game saying Chip Kelly cost this team, can they?
No, I think you want to see more out of that side of the ball, and you want to see, him coming out of a bye week, knowing what he needs to do and what they want to attack and what they want to accomplish offensively. There has to be some type of rhyme or rhythm to their offense because it really just hasn't. You haven't had that all year. You've seen fits and starts. You've seen glimpses, but the offense has been poor pretty much all season. So I think you have to come out of this game feeling good about the offense, win or loss, and you definitely don't want to feel like the offense, if you do lose, that the offense is the reason that cost you the game.
I'm going to go a step farther. I don't think you went far enough. It's not that you can't feel like the offense cost you the game. You can't feel like your offensive coordinator did. You can't have the highest paid offensive coordinator and feel like he's costing you games. You can't have the head coach bemoaning that they're not doing the game plan. You can't have the head coach bemoaning we're not running the football. We're not seeing the personnel he wants to see. Listen, Pete Carroll has the right. He's the head coach to be judged on getting what he wants. But dear God, you can't have it look like there's the discombobulation in your coaching staff.
No, and especially not coming off a bye now. You've had some extra time to really sit down and self-evaluate over that week off and look at what you have on your team and what may work better for the going forward and what you did in the first few weeks that you want to scrap or do less of. I think the bye is a great self-evaluation time for any team. And I think if you're the Raiders, you have to come out of this rest going into this weekend with more of a concrete identity of what you want to be offensively. And I think if you're Pete Carroll and you went into this time off thinking we're not running enough for my liking, we don't have the personality and the identity that I want to see in my team offensively. I mean, I think you have to rectify that um, before Sunday. You have to have it, so that you play better, you look better, you coach better, and things are just more cohesive and look like they have a meaning to them.
If the Raiders offense comes out and looks as pitiful as it's looked, and I don't think it's going to, then I think Pete has to look at, what do I do? I mean, I've got to do something. I can't just sit here and tread water, right or wrong. Or does he play out the entire year?
I would think that something would have to change. I don't, I'm not saying that he would fire the OC halfway through the season, especially with that contract. Um, Maybe he changes the quarterback to get a look at Kenny Pickett, see if that, sparks the team a little bit. I would think that something would have to change at that point. Maybe not for the Denver game because it's a short week, but coming off a bye, 2 games in a span of 5 days, if it doesn't look better and you're not getting more competitive, um, and an actual coherent NFL caliber offense, then I think with the mini bye before the Dallas game on November 17th, some type of substantive change is going to be made.
Has to, has to me. I agree with that 100%. All right. I want to switch to the NFL. The Colts. A lot of people did not believe in them, but I think at this point, to not believe in them, you don't believe at your own peril. I remember the year the Patriots won their first Super Bowl, they kind of came out. Nobody believed in them. I can think of other examples of other teams that people didn't believe in. But at this point, I'm sorry, there's nothing left for them to do. I think people should be buying. These guys are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, to me, they are the best team in the AFC, the best team in the NFL right now. They've earned that title with their performance, and I think that, listen, you could say, listen, well, they've beaten, several bad teams. 2 wins against the Titans. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Raiders. They beat there's somebody else in there that they beat that wasn't very good. The Cardinals. But listen, it's not just the fact they won those games, it's how they're winning those games. They're dominating, they're putting up a lot of points. It's not like they're surviving these weaker teams. They're the most efficient offense in football. Everything is clicking. They have Daniel Jones at quarterback who's playing like, the comeback player of the year right now and looking almost like an MVP candidate. Jonathan Taylor, running back, who's playing like the offensive player of the year and an MVP candidate. The line is great. To me, I would still, for the playoffs, at this point, I would still make the Chiefs the favorite in the AFC because why not? They're the
I agree.
Chiefs. And especially if the Chiefs have home field advantage. But right now, the best team, the most impressive team in the NFL this year has been the Colts. And I think they're legit. I think that they're a team that can make noise in the AFC and they can get out of the AFC and get into the Super Bowl if they get the right matchups or if they get home field advantage and things break right for them.
Okay, I'm going to make it point blank clear. I am convinced 100% uh, with no hesitation that I think the Chiefs are the team to beat in the AFC. In the NFC, I think it's Rams, Lions. Who am I missing? I think you could make an argument for San Francisco, but I don't think they're as good as the Rams or the Lions.
They're banged
I think
up
you can make,
too.
yeah, I'm not buying on Philly right now. I think they're a very good team that can click at any moment, but they look discombobulated. Where am I wrong here, Matt?
They seem to get themselves together a little bit the last couple of weeks. And I know they beat the Vikings who are struggling and they beat the Giants who are 2-6, but the Giants had beaten them 2 weeks before that. So they seem to get their footing a little bit. So I'm getting back into the on not fully the Philly bandwagon the way I was last year with the way they looked, but the way they've kind of self-corrected in the past last year, and maybe this year so far too, gives me hope that they're a legitimate contender again in the NFC. Um, the team they play coming up their bye, they're at the Packers on Monday Night Football. That's a team that if everything's clicking and Jordan Love's playing well, the Packers can beat anybody in the NFL. But they don't always have. It seems like week to week, they don't always look like that type of true contender. Um, to me, again, I'll say this in the AFC, I think the Chiefs are far and away the favorite. I think that the Colts and I guess you have to put the Bills in there just because of Josh Allen. I think will be my next two teams. There's a couple of sleepers, the Patriots and maybe the Broncos can be, tough outs in the playoffs, but I don't know if they can get to a Super Bowl. In the NFC, I mean, right now, I think that depending on how they're playing at the time, there are 5 or 6 teams that can get to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. I think the Eagles can. I think Green Bay can. I think Detroit can. I think the Rams can. The Bucks are really injured, but before all their injuries, I would have put them in that group. And then you got to talk about maybe the Niners if they can get a little healthier. Like I think that the NFC is going to be really entertaining come January. I think that is it possible that the Eagles are the 1 seed again if they keep playing well, or a factor, or one of the favorites? Absolutely, but I don't think it's going to be where it was going into the playoffs last year, where it was like it clearly is Philly, or because the Lions were banged up at that point. I think it's going to be more wide open this year.
Is Mike Vrabel, if we had to vote right now, coach of the year?
He's a prime candidate. I think you would have to put Shane Steichen from the Colts also in that mix. Um, Without a doubt, Mike McDonald from the Seahawks is also probably in that mix too. I'm sure I'm missing some other guys as well. But I think Mike Vrabel probably would be the front runner for me right now at this moment.
Yeah, I'm shocked. All right, I want to switch attention. I had an interesting conversation this morning with an NFL player, and I asked him about going to 18 games. Actually, he brought up something to me, and he brought the subject up, and he goes, "I don't support it. We've got to expand the rosters. We got to add bye weeks. I think it's too many games if we don't expand the roster." And he said, "And we're going to have to expand the uh, rev share." And he said to me, "I know they can do it. We gave them that position in a 10-year deal when COVID was going on. But this is another player telling me there is a lot of dissatisfied players with the NFLPA. Talk to me, Matt. This is fascinating."
Listen, we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. 18 games seems like a foregone conclusion. Um, I think it's probably going to happen, but there's going to have to be some type of concession, like you said. There's going to have to be something, whether it's an extra bye week or whether it's an expanded roster to help deal with the added depth that's going to be needed. The players are going to have to get some type of further concession, I think, in order for 18 games to become reality. I think it is eventually going to become reality, but there's going to have to be some type of give and take there. And I think that that guy's comments that you mentioned are truly indicative of that.
Fascinating to me. All right, last question for me, Matt, and I'm going to get you out of here. The NFL is changing, and it's there's a lot of consternation. I'm hearing a lot of people questioning some decisions that Roger Goodell's making. I don't have an opinion, but it's NFL people. There's more seems to be frustration with him than I've heard in a long time. What are your thoughts about this? Is Roger getting too big for his britches? Is it just normal because he's been there a while, so people make him the Darth Vader? What's going on? But I'm telling you, people who I have know who have been around a long time, who've pretty much been supportive of him, I'm a little bit surprised on what I'm hearing. I'd love your thoughts.
I'm guessing you're hearing more from either the executive and coach level, but maybe also
Yep.
players as well. So,
No, not player. I take players out of it,
yeah.
but I'm hearing a lot from the executive level with a lot of people and even some family of ownership that there's a lot of people questioning. In fact, I'll just tell you this: I'm friends with a particular owner's family member, and they called me, and I'll tell you off air what it was about something that's coming down the pike with Roger, and they're like, "What is this guy thinking?" It's sometimes like he's trying to generate negative publicity because he doesn't think we're getting enough positive. I never heard that stuff before. I'd hear occasionally complaining, but I'm hearing it a lot. What are your thoughts on Roger?
No, I am wondering part of it because again, the longer you're in a position of power like that, and you're the main guy and you're the target, um, the more you're susceptible to people kind of getting tired of you or finding complaints about you. He's been in it for going to be 2 decades in next year. His contract runs through March 2027, so right now he's under contract basically for a year and a half. And listen, he's faced criticism outside sources, faced criticism from players. I don't think anyone's really that surprised by that. His obviously he has to worry about the owners first and foremost because he works for them. Um, so but I don't know if it's tough for me to say at this point if it's really something that could harm him or if it's more just kind of like, this guy's been here a long time, you know, things add up and you kind of get tired and you get anxious for some new blood in there, even if that's not something that's going to come to fruition. But I think it's something worth monitoring now over the next year or so. Because you're going to have to start to hear some type of news. He received his extension 2 years ago this month through March 2027, which means that and it was a 3 year extension, which means, to me that you're gonna find out probably around by this time next year what his future is with the NFL.
Going to be fascinating to watch. He's the great Matt Haladik from the Men's Journal, joining us every week, breaking it down, talking NFL. Thanks, Matt.
Anytime.